All right, SML, welcome back to the season 52 episode of 2 Minute Drill. I'm here with D-Muse and pretty exciting off season. Not quite the fireworks we usually see, but it was some big moves. Anything stand out to you, D-Muse?
No, not really. I think a lot of teams had good drafts, and a lot of what I'm going to cover for the AFC here is going to be rookies that help the teams. But a quiet offseason for the SML, but that doesn't mean it was quiet. There was still plenty going on.
Yeah, no big fireworks. I think the biggest thing to me, the overarching theme of the offseason had to be the quarterback kind of carousel and guys looking for quarterbacks. You saw Prime really scrambling to find a quarterback after trading Baker, and a couple other teams doing the same. So let's jump right into it. We'll start in the AFC East, and we'll just kind of bounce back and forth AFC NFC just like the last episodes. And we'll start with the Bills. Um,
Yep.
what do you think about the Bills?
Yeah, not too much done here. A couple good things though. They got Poyer and Hyde out at safety. Went a little younger, and now they have two stud safeties back there, two stud rookies. One 75 overall normal dev, and one 74 overall hidden. So, I mean, that's going to be two starting safeties for the remainder of the cycle, or at least it should be, pending a trade or something. Something interesting here is they also have a hidden rookie quarterback with 96 throw power behind Josh Allen. Um, Definitely not a position of need, but maybe a luxury and a future trade asset. So that's interesting. But sort of similar to last offseason, this roster is so set. There's really not much you need to do. The safeties were one area I think a lot of people would point to, and that was addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at that defensive line. He's got two X factors and two superstars for his front four. He let Epinesa walk, but you can do that when you got four guys with stars under their names. Um,
Yep.
and then, like you said, the only thing he did really in the secondary was let Poyer and Hyde walk, and then he fills them in with two really good guys, and one of them's hidden. So just kind of reloading for the Bills instead of rebuilding. Maybe the linebackers are a little weak. We'll see if he adds anything there, but he does have Bernard, who's a 25-year-old star. He's got Milano still at 30 years old, and then obviously Tremaine Edmonds closing in on that 90 overall. Um, and then a guy, Jaden Winter, who's sitting at 77. He's normal dev, but that could be his fourth linebacker. Definitely big things coming in Buffalo, and it seems like DW might even be coming around with his gameplay.
Definitely. Agreed.
All right, so the next team, let's go ahead and we'll talk about the Bucks. We'll go to the NFC South, and we've got Clink. I didn't really think Clink did too much this offseason. What he did do though was he traded Sean Murphy Bunting to Faz, which I thought was an odd trade, but that was really about it. He had a decent draft. I know he got a safety that he likes, and we'll see how that safety. Obviously, like most users that Clink has, he ends up being pretty good. So I expect that to kind of continue. But outside of that, I didn't see anything that was really that crazy. He had a hidden dev middle, or I'm sorry, right outside linebacker, and then he got a hidden safety and a corner as well. So he had a really good draft. Free agency wise, didn't really see him doing much. We'll see how Shelley does in his second season here.
Yeah. No, that's the key point right there is the continuation of the development of Stephen Shelley at quarterback. The rest of the roster is pretty good to go. He traded Murphy Bunting, but like you just touched on, he got that hidden dev corner who's only 21. So um, replaced him pretty well. That's the guy he should be able to develop. So quiet off season, but not sure much had to be done.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of teams, and we'll obviously get to this, but I feel like a lot of teams kind of had the quiet off seasons outside of the draft and maybe one or two free agents. But Buccaneers definitely one of those teams, and just like the Bills though, they're a fairly stacked team. Not much they need to do other than he needs to figure out that quarterback position. All right, so next up is going to be the Patriots.
Yeah, busy off season here for Fig. Um, a lot of teams had quiet off seasons. The Patriots are not one of them. They had a couple trades. They traded quarterback Dane Dempsey to the Colts in prime, a decent young quarterback that can be developed, star dev, or a second round pick, a fourth round pick, and Stephon Gilmore. I'm not sure that Stephon Gilmore fits the timeline for this Patriots roster, and I'll cover that in just a second. So it's an interesting move, especially considering now I think the starting quarterback there is Ryan Tannehill, who has seen better days. But yeah, I mean, the quarterback's going to be interesting. He signed Tyler Boyd as kind of another win now move. So that's kind of three veterans brought in: Tyler Boyd, Tannehill, Stephon Gilmore, to kind of help win now. But really good draft in New England. Drafted a hidden development running back, and I'm not going to go into a lot of these names of these rookies, but this one I really like. I think it's an awesome name, JaMychal Applewhite. So I really hope he develops. He got a hidden guard, a hidden D end, and a hidden D tackle that shored up a big weakness, which was the defensive line. He also got a hidden safety with 90 speed. So by my count, that's four hiddens, five. So good building blocks for the future. He made a couple other trades, got rid of Matthew Judon for a second and a future third. Good job getting trade assets there for an aging pass rusher. And he traded a wide receiver to Dan for free safety and a third-round pick, which I felt was a decent move. He didn't need the receiver. He has other speed guys, and he was able to get Tyler Boyd pretty cheap. So busy offseason for the Patriots. Some win now moves, but a lot of good building blocks for the future via the draft.
Yeah, and a big one I think was Applewhite to replace Eckler. He's got Eckler on a franchise tag right now, and he's clearly got his replacement. So that's good for Fig. All right. With that, that's going to bring us to your team, the Saints. I didn't notice too much that you did other than you lost Demario Davis. I thought that was, I mean, he's an aging guy, so it's probably not a bad move. And really, it felt like a quiet offseason for you as well. But, I mean, you got a hidden delve running back that you can add to Kamara and Stockton there. For whatever reason, you're happy with Mac Jones. Your throw power you're not too worried about. You did get Jalen Reagor, so that gives you another target at receiver. For the most part, I thought it was a pretty quiet offseason. A couple of hidden guys in the draft, but they were lower rated. But not much you can do with this Saints team, especially if it's your favorite team and you don't plan on moving a lot of guys.
Yeah, I did trade Demario Davis. Got two. I felt like getting 2 draft picks for him. He was 35 going into the season, so thought now was the time to do that. The hidden dev running back was actually an undrafted free agency grab, so we'll see. He doesn't factor too much into my long-term plans, but nice asset to have on the roster. And then, I don't know, my big trade, I traded my first-round pick for Sean Slater at left tackle. He's 86 overall from Matt. Wanted to shore up the O-line. I needed one more guy to really feel comfortable up there, and I think Rashawn Slater is going to be a Saint for the cycle, so that was really my move. We had a couple guys dev up that were big. Still focusing on developing some young guys on the defense. That's going to be the focus this year. But yeah, I mean, we paid Cam Jordan $50 million too. That's pretty loud.
Yeah.
But I had $70 million in cap space and only like 2 things that I considered needs, and one of them was a pass rusher. So the money had to be spent somewhere on a 1-year deal. It's pretty harmless.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Other than it kind of takes away from the rollover cap, but to get a guy like that back is pretty good. And then obviously Saints fan. All right, so then next we'll talk about the Dolphins.
Yeah, Fins here is going to fall under sort of the quiet offseason. He made one big splash move, and he traded for Budda Baker from QP. I really liked the move. I thought he got a good value. He traded the 31st pick in the first round, a future second-round pick, and receiver Keith Cooper for him. But he gets an X-factor safety who's still only 28. He's got 4 to 5 good years left in him. It's the kind of asset that you're not going to probably get with the late first or future second-round pick. So strike now while you can get them. The offense is obviously, I mean, everyone can talk about this the whole cycle. But with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, building the defense and trying to dominate on that side of the ball is what you should be doing. And speaking of receiver, he was able to add a pretty good number 3 receiver. He drafted a hidden development 21-year-old wide receiver. Yeah. So his offense is probably set for a while, and Budda Baker does nothing but bolster the defense. And I think anytime you can get an asset like that at a reasonable price like he did, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, already had a pretty good secondary, and then adds Budda Baker, and that kind of benefits from QP being in cap hell. There's going to be deals out there, and Fins takes advantage of it and gets an X-factor guy to add to his secondary. All right, so next team is going to be the Carolina Panthers and Monty. Monty was an interesting one because he hadn't really done anything, and then we were playing Warzone, and he said something about Keenan Allen when I said I was gonna try and move him, and so he ends up being the one to get Keenan Allen. Initially, I was trying to get Derek Brown, but instead I get a first round pick for Keenan Allen, and that kind of forced his hand though because he was in such bad cap space that he ended up having to move. I believe Ioannidis went and Dante Jackson to the Bears. Um, so he kind of hurt himself picking up Keenan Allen. He got a couple of the guys in the draft. Nothing really, nothing really great. A couple of hidden guys, but lower overalls. But his wide receiver room is stacked now. He's got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Robbie Anderson, and then Chenault's not bad. Terrence Marshall's not bad. Um, he's got quite a few guys in there. I didn't think that was a need for him, but when he asked about Keenan Allen, I definitely jumped all over moving him, especially when I got a first in return. The cornerback move doesn't really hurt him. He drafted a hidden dev corner, and then he's still got J.C. Horn, C.J. Henderson, and then he's got two safeties in Chin and Smith that are both pretty good, and then even Zach Marion as well. So he's got a good team. Another one of those guys that's got a really good team and doesn't need to make a lot of moves.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's a win now move. I mean, a lot of people would say that Monty probably should have been in the Super Bowl
Yep.
if Javion Clowney doesn't suffer the really unfortunate shoulder strain in the NFC Championship game. Um, he's probably playing in that game, and we saw Dan win it, and he gave Dan everything he could handle and more. So who knows what would have happened. So a win now move offensively, but I'm just happy Dante Jackson's out of my division.
Yep, there you go. All right, so that brings us then to the Jets to close out the AFC East.
Yeah, you spent the offseason basically undoing last offseason.
Yeah.
You traded for Keenan Allen and Travis Kelce, and you turned them away this year. I don't think it bolstered your passing game as much as you would have liked, and you struck while you could and got assets for some aging assets. Getting a first for Keenan Allen's huge. This could be the last year you're able to do that. And getting a second and third, two pretty good picks for Travis Kelce. Again, they're not getting any younger. Trade them while you can. I didn't mind the move. And you have some depth at tight end. You drafted a hidden dev 96 speed receiver, which I don't think you would have labeled as a position of need, but it's a nice luxury to have.
Yeah.
You bolstered your secondary with a corner. You drafted 75 overall rookie and then another hidden development rookie. So that seemed to me to be a position of need looking at your roster. So I think that was a good move. And then you traded up in the draft. You got pick 10 from KJ
Yep.
for pick 30, a third, and Bryce Huff. Pretty good move. Get the assets, get the young assets, and kind of a reset offseason for you after you went all in on the veterans to try to help Zach Wilson last year. You're kind of going back to the Jets' identity, which is speed and youth.
Yeah, the veterans were kind of a move to give some of my youth a little more time to develop without having to actually play them. And it worked a little bit. I would have thought I'd have done a little better. Obviously, my offensive problems are a little more than personnel right now. Receiver, it wasn't a position of need, but that 96 speed was. I don't think I had anybody above 92 at the time, so I wanted to get some speed. And then just adding to the secondary. With everybody adding speed, I wanted to make sure I wasn't hurting at corner, so I added some more there. And we'll see how those guys develop, and that'll kind of determine how this offseason went. All right.
Definitely.
So next up is going to be another quiet team, and it's the Falcons. Didn't really see Dump do too much. He picked up a safety from Meats. It's a 23-year-old star safety, J.J. Loud. He's 90 speed, 6'3", so he's going to be walk in and automatically be the tallest guy in his secondary. He let Casey Hayward go. Didn't really see a whole bunch of moves from Dump. Pretty quiet offseason. I would have liked to see him do something more on offense, but he's going to get Ritter back, and I think that's of all the things that could happen for this team, that's the biggest one for him anyways, is getting Ritter. And so we'll see what he does, but he really didn't do much.
Yeah. No, I think he could have been a little more aggressive. I think there are some holes on the Falcons roster, but I agree. Ritter's the biggest one. I know he got hurt for most of last season, so that was really unfortunate, especially when you're trying to develop him. He's 25 now, so running out of time a little bit there to get him to the next level. But yeah, quiet offseason, just not much to say.
Yeah, I like that he made a defensive move because the defense seemed to be his problem, but I would have liked to see him do a little bit more on defense to try and bolster that team. All right, so that is going to bring us to the Browns with the next pick.
Yeah, somewhat a busy offseason here for Noel. A few hiddens. The defensive line, big big bolster. They're lower overalls, two of them. He drafted a D tackle and a D end who are both hidden, and then he has a 75 overall hidden 21-year-old D end. So that's three hidden devs on the D line. They're all pretty young, like they're all 22 or younger. So those are good compliments next to Myles Garrett. And then he also got a 75 overall middle linebacker as a rookie who's 89 speed and a hidden left tackle and a 76 overall wide receiver, which is now his best wide receiver on the team. So a lot of youth, big youth movement in Cleveland, a lot of building blocks for the future. It's tough to develop that many guys at once, so we'll see how that happens over the next couple of years. But never a bad thing when you get that much youthful talent on the roster. And like I said, the rookie receiver is the best on the team because he traded away Amari Cooper for an outside linebacker and a future third-round pick. There were a lot of wide receivers available in free agency that were pretty solid that probably didn't get the contracts they would have been looking for if this were real life. A lot on the trade block. So getting rid of Amari Cooper could have been a good move. And he also traded his left tackle and a fifth-round pick to Coop for a second and a third-round pick. He replaced him with a hidden dev in the draft, so it all worked out. But I would have probably held on to the old line. Jedrick Willis is pretty young. He's like 25, I think. So that's an interesting move. But again, he added so many young guys that have some talent that it's hard to hate on his offseason at all.
Yeah, had a lot of good moves to get younger, especially with that cap. I thought it was odd. I tried to get Deshaun Watson early in the offseason, and he said he was going all in on Watson this year and then traded away Cooper and his left tackle. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. All right, that's going to do our 2 minutes there. But that's going to move us then to QP in the NFC West and the Cardinals. QP, we already talked about, got rid of Budda Baker. With Finns gave him a pick, and he gave him Keith Cooper, so he adds another 97 speed guy to that receiver room. He ends up drafting a guy in Robert Cook, who's a hidden dev receiver, 93 speed. Picks up Eric McLeod from Bean, who's an X-Factor receiver, only 23 years old. He's still, the offense obviously still really good. He loses Elgin Jenkins, sends him to Gutta. What I didn't see, he did get two defensive tackles that were hidden in the draft, but I would have liked to see him get a defensive end. Right now, that seems to be the weak spot of that team. But the linebackers with Roquan Smith and Boye Mafe, who he picked up from Coop in the trade, worked out to be really nice. And then he picks up Kyle Archer, who I think everybody kind of had as the top middle linebacker in the draft. The guy's 97 speed. He's only 21 years old, 75 overall already. He is normal, but that's a quick jump if you have a good season with him, which if he uses him, he will. And then talk about luck. The guy gets rid of Budda Baker, and what does he do? He drafts a 22-year-old hidden devs strong safety to replace him. 90 speed, and like I said, 22 years old, so plenty young enough to improve. So pretty good offseason for QP, who had some cap issues of his own.
Yeah, quick correction. You said Kyle Archer had 97 speed. He has 90 speed. 97 speed would be
no, Keith
unfair, middle linebacker. the receiver has 97 speed. That's right.
Yeah.
But that receiving room is disgusting. That's scary. That's scary, especially with QP, who's a great passer.
Yep. All right. So next up is the Bengals.
Yeah, Bean, kind of a crisis offseason for him a little bit, right? You get the 4 seed again. You lose to Prime again. Seems to be a theme with him here in the SML. And I think he expects to win this division every year, and his moves reflect that. He traded for Travis Kelce at tight end. He traded for Demario Davis at middle linebacker. So that's 2 X factors. He did trade away Eric McLeod, who's, as you just mentioned, 23-year-old X factor, to QP for a second and a future first. I would have liked to see him trade that for a better draft pick than what QPs will be, but I don't know what the market was. Like I said, there were a lot of receivers available in the draft, free agency trades, so that could have hindered that a little bit. But he did replace him. I mean, he has T Higgins and Jamar Chase, so only so much need for the third wide receiver, and he was able to replace him with two 94 plus speed receivers out of the draft. Not the highest overalls, but enough speed to be a little bit dangerous. He also bolstered his O line, which is a need on the Bengals. He got two hidden guys on the line, a 79 overall guard and a 73 overall tackle. So pretty all in all season from him. He traded picks for Kelsey and Davis, and um, yeah, I'll be interested to see if that helps him enough to get over the hump and win a playoff game, which you said will not happen.
Yep, I said that won't happen, and so far, so good. I am correct on that. But yeah, I think him and Monty are kind of the same. They both kind of made win now moves. Um, both probably felt they were really close. Bean for a while, everybody thought he was one of the better teams in the AFC, and then he kind of went on his little losing streak. But I think both of them kind of made win now moves, and we'll see if it pays off. Next up is going to be Coop in Seattle. Coop had a quiet offseason. I don't even think he attended the draft. He just had Prime sim him the whole time. He did pick up an offensive lineman and got Jedrick Wills from Knoll. So part of the maybe offensive line matters crew. Right now he's got 3 tackles though, 78 overall or better. So and 2 centers. His guards, he's got a 75 and then a 73. So hovering right around that mid 70s for his line, other than Wills and Mason, both 80 plus. Didn't really do much. Like I said, he didn't attend the draft and was kind of quiet in free agency as well. And he's not really in the best cap space. According to Neon, he's sitting at 1.52 million. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, 1.52 million. That's all he's got in cap. Not really sure where it's all tied up, but he doesn't have much room to make a lot of moves.
Yeah, I mean, he made moves early in the cycle, like getting
Yeah.
Deron Payne. So quiet offseason, not much to cover, but pretty good. An improved roster from when he took it over for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did get Shaq Mason. I think I said um, that's a good addition as well. So not an off season. Just like most of the guys, it seems just a quiet off season while he figured out what he wanted to do. So next up is the Ravens and Field.
This is the definition of a quiet offseason. He drafted a hidden development D lineman, and that was pretty much it. He did trade for Cortland Sutton.
Yep.
He gave a future second for Cortland Sutton to give himself another weapon, but pretty quiet. And again, the Ravens are another roster which don't have a ton of holes, and Field has to be feeling pretty good. He was kind of the Cinderella story of last season. Got back into the playoffs after a pretty long drought. So, be interested to see how that goes. Got a weapon and got an offensive lineman, and that was sort of it.
Yeah, it was close to winning the division. So obviously, we'll see how it goes in season 2. But that definitely improvement from season 1. And maybe he's as everyone likes to say, maybe Field is back. So we'll see. Next up is the Rams and KJ. KJ also fairly quiet offseason. He did pick up Bryce Huff from me, a superstar defensive end, to put opposite of Aaron Donald. We'll see if that pans out. Problem is Aaron Donald's a little older, so he may not get to do that for very long. But he did get Cole Barnes, hidden free safety, so that helps out his secondary. Immediately steps into that starter role. But outside of that, another one that's just kind of a quiet offseason.
Yeah, pretty typical from KJ and with this Rams team. I think we said the same thing last offseason.
Yep.
They're in cap hell. I mean,
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford's contract alone makes it really hard to do anything. So
Yeah, I think he had 13 or 14 draft picks, and just trying to get younger. So he did accomplish that, and we'll see if he can get himself out of this cap nightmare. All right, so next up is the Steelers.
yeah, Colt loaded up on weapons for his second year quarterback, and he took quarterback pretty high last year, and he drafted a hidden development 96 speed, 76 overall wide receiver. He signed Tyler Lockett out of free agency. He also bolstered his defense with a hidden defensive end. So a couple nice draft picks. Got Tyler Lockett. His receiver room's really deep now. This is another team where I think the primary focus is going to be deving that quarterback and setting yourself up for future success. But didn't do anything detrimental to himself this offseason. Had a few good moves. Nothing too crazy, but pretty good offseason all told. And can't really judge anything until we see what happens with this quarterback.
Yeah, I think that was the big priority, was to get something around the quarterback. What I would have liked to see him do a little more, though, is get something in the secondary. Right now, his fastest player in the secondary is 91 speed, Minka Fitzpatrick. You don't have a corner over 90 speed. That could be a problem with some of these.
That's a problem.
The way these drafts are going. You had the Vikings early on last cycle and had that speed problem in the secondary, and it's at some point going to be a real problem. And he hasn't had much success so far, and that I tend to think is part of the reason is that defense is just a little too slow.
I think you can get away with one guy who's like high at everything
Yeah.
else and lower speed in the secondary, but not when it's your whole secondary.
Yeah, and not at the rate that these 96 speed and faster guys are coming out of the draft. I mean, everybody's going to have multiple at some point, and 90's not going to cut it.
No.
All right, so that's going to take us off of that team and bring us to the 49ers and Dan. Speaking of speed receivers, that was kind of Dan's big move of the offseason, was bringing in Quandre James, normal guy, 74 overall, 23 years old, 97 speed. Then he goes out and he drafts a 95 speed guy to go along with Danny Gray at 94 and Deebo Samuel at 93. So his top four, his slowest guy's 93. You can see where that's a problem for Colt with his 90 speed. Outside of that, I didn't really see him do too much. Like he said, he picked up that speed receiver. He got rid of his user linebacker that was a star, but I don't think that's going to hurt him too much. His secondary, still pretty good. I didn't really notice if he did anything great in the draft. I didn't think he did as far as getting anybody, because I don't think he picked till like the third or fourth round. But getting that speed receiver, I think that's what he wanted to add this offseason, was some speed to compete. He saw what Faz was doing with Jensen and NYT with Ridley. NYT didn't even have a quarterback, and he had Ridley, who had the best receiving year. So Dan saw speed as being important, and he went and got it.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I'm interested to see with Dan is how the offensive line holds up. He's coming off the Super Bowl, so riding high can do what you want, really. But this team will be the definition of, does offensive line matter, because it is a weak point.
Yeah, and I have a pretty good idea that he thinks it does not matter. So we'll see. This could, like you said, this will be a really good year to find out how much it matters. All right, so next up is Mike and the Chiefs.
Yeah, pretty busy offseason for Mike. He traded away Justin Reed at safety. Speaking of Colt, he could have used him.
Yep.
He's pretty fast, and he traded him in a third for the 20th pick in the first round. He signed Darnell Mooney out of free agency. He traded his second round pick for Laramie Tunsil, which I thought was a good move. Mooney and Tunsil are two very useful bets. He had a lot of luck in the draft, but it's kind of interesting when you look at it. So he took a 73 overall center, which will help the O-line.
Yep.
But then his other best picks, he drafted two hidden development defensive tackles that are 75 overall or better. That's a position where he already has Chris Jones. I know. I expect him to maybe move some guys around on the line, put a guy at end maybe, but we'll see how they fare there. And then he drafted a 76 overall hidden tight end. But he spent a first-round pick on a tight end last year and already has a guy who's 80 overall. He's 22, and he's a superstar. So he got three really, really high-level talents, which I'm usually a fan of, best player available. But he already had really good talent at both of those positions. So I'm just going to be interested to see how he utilizes and develops those guys long-term. But really successful offseason if the goal was to bring in as much talent as possible.
Yeah, the tight end picks shocked me the most. The defensive tackles, not so much, because outside of Chris Jones, he needed a defensive tackle. So he went and took a shot on two guys, nails both of them, which is great. He can move Chris Jones and develop those guys, or just wait till he leaves. I would have liked to see him get another linebacker. Right now, he's only got one guy over 73 overall, and that's Nick Bolton. Outside of that, it's not looking good there. Maybe he likes this Leo Chanel, but I would have liked to see him maybe use that on more of a position in need, which I think linebacker is. Especially the tight end pick. That's the one that just kind of surprised me. But we'll see. We'll see what he does if he runs a lot of 2 tight end sets, which I don't think he will. But I guess you never really know what he's going to do. All right, so that's it for the Chiefs. Now we're going to move on to the Bears and Biz. So he let Cole Kmet go, and he signed Gerald Everett. He picked up a new tight end. He ends up keeping Marquise Brown. I know he floated the idea of getting rid of him. He kind of spent a little bit in the offseason. Big ones he got, though. He got Ioannidis from Monty, and in the same deal, he got Dante Jackson, which gives him that speed guy in the secondary. Because before him, he didn't have a ton. He drafted Tevin Felix last year, and he's got Kendall Sheffield. But adding Dante Jackson, I think, gives him a lot of speed. I mean, his top corner is Jalen Johnson. You got to have somebody with some speed next to him, with him only being 89 speed. So I thought that was a really good move for him. And he got Max Crosby to move out of that first pick. The only thing I didn't like was he didn't get a pick this year from two-step. He ended up delaying it till next year. I would have liked to try and get that number 8 pick if two-step was going to move up. But you get a future one, and if history is going to repeat itself, two-step will still be picking in the top 10 anyway. So I suppose it's not bad. But he does pick up Max Crosby, which immediately makes the defensive line better. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, he got a haul for that number 1 pick. So hard to fault him for, I guess, quote unquote, settling for the future pick. Max Crosby's an absolute stud. This defensive line has potential to cause a lot of problems. It's stars all. I mean, he has 1, 2, 3. He has 6 stars on this defensive line. So, pretty good offseason for him.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, definitely can't complain about the Bears roster at this point. So it's going to be on him to put it together, and we'll see where he goes from here. All right, so next up is going to be...
I would have taken
go ahead.
One quick thing. I would have taken a Godfather offer for Fields. I think he got a few of them. I would have considered that.
Yeah, I definitely threw together an offer, and I know Prime came in with a pretty good offer as well. For having one of the worst offenses in the league, you would think maybe you could pick up some other stuff, but he's gonna roll with him, and now he's got to either re-sign him or franchise him, or maybe trade him midseason, and we'll see what he does. All right, next up is the Chargers and Matt.
Yeah, Matt continued his exodus of talent from this Chargers team, which I think, based on what I've heard, you have to do when you pay Justin Herbert as much money as he did. He let Eckler walk last year, and he was able to draft a replacement. He got a hidden running back in the draft, so that's nice. He got a hidden development defensive end, and he got a hidden development left guard, and that helps a lot because he traded away Rashawn Slater, who was his best offensive lineman, a young asset. So it's nice to get. He was basically able to replace Eckler and Slater with hidden development rookies. So that's always nice to see. The Rashawn Slater trade again was Slater and Josh Palmer to me, Saints for Prime's first, and wide receiver Desmond Patton, who was only included because Matt needed guys on the roster. So interesting offseason. I think he's going through some cap situations just with the talent that they have and having to extend your quarterback with that much money. So he is in a way down last year, but he brought some talent in, and he's getting younger. So hard to fault him, and he's going to be a hard out come playoff time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely doing pretty well with replacing guys he's got to get rid of. Like you said, Eckler's gone, and then he brings in a hidden dev running back. So not a bad offseason for him with what he's got to work with. He's basically just trying to keep his head above water with that quarterback contract. All right, so next up is going to be the Vikings and Gutta. I thought he had a fairly quiet offseason. He spent a lot in free agency. He was able to snipe Malik Hooker from me, which is probably better for him. I wouldn't have had to start him. I think he's going to end up starting him. But he picked up Elgin Jenkins, so he gets his left tackle. He's got a really good offensive line actually. All four, depending on what he does with the right guard position. If he starts one of his two star left tackles, moves him to guard, he's got everybody's star. So his offensive line, he seems to be one of the guys that thinks it matters. Adam Thielen retired on him, and he goes out and he replaces him with Brandon Ayuk and KJ Hamler. So not a bad way to replace Adam Thielen. Neither of them is superstar, but you get a little bit faster. And obviously Justin Jefferson is your number one guy there anyway. Another one, he did go out and pick up Jameis Winston. I don't think he goes away from Malik Willis. I think that's more of I just watched two quarterbacks go down for multiple weeks. Maybe I need to have something as a backup.
Yeah, interested to see how his secondary fares this year. I don't love his corners at all. Andrew Booth, I like second year guy in the second at corner, but I think that position is going to be a struggle. We'll see how they hold up.
All right. So that's going to take us now back to the AFC and the Raiders.
Yeah, two step. We already covered this trade a little bit, but he gave up a ton to move up to number one to take Logan Rhodes. Looks like Rhodes is a pretty good quarterback. So it's hard to fault the move. We'll see if it moves the needles in terms of the win-loss column, but he did trade away a future one, his second, and Max Crosby, who's a defensive stud, to get Logan Rhodes. So a lot of pressure on the young quarterback to show something, but he might not need that future one. He was able to add a lot of talent in the draft. He got a hidden development defensive tackle along with 77 overall rookie receiver and a 77 overall rookie corner who's hidden. So the receiver will help him develop the quarterback, and the hidden dev D tackle kind of helps replace Max Crosby a little bit on the defensive line, and hopefully the corner can help. Just TTS two-step has to hit on these picks, and he did. And now he has to go a year without a one. So it's all about the quarterback. That's all that matters for this team this year, is developing that quarterback and making it worth it.
Yeah, we'll see what he does with the quarterback. And that old son of a bitch picked Eric Goodwin, the corner I wanted, 2 spots ahead of me. That was going to be my pick at number 10. And he's 77 overall hidden dev, like you said, 94 speed. Would have looked good in green, but we'll see what we got. Our guy's already out for 2 weeks with a broken finger in practice week 1, so not the best start. Yeah, not the best start to his career, but we'll see how he does. He is 2 years younger, or a year younger than Two Steps guy who's 23, so we'll count that as something. But that's going to take us back to the NFC, and now we're going to go to the Detroit Tank Lions. And I thought Paulie had a really quiet offseason. Didn't see him do a ton. Didn't add any big names. The only thing I noticed he did, because I was bidding on the guy, was he picked up Micah Hyde in the secondary. Not a huge need, but he gets a little faster. I think he can play Deshaun Elliott, maybe a little less at that 87 speed. And Micah Hyde coming in superstar, obviously 2 abilities, 89 speed, going to be a lot better. So that was really the only big move that I saw Paulie make. He did get Gordon Parham, which is a left outside linebacker, hidden dev, 21 years old. That was a good pickup in the draft. But outside of that, and a running back, I forgot. He drafted a running back as well, hidden dev, 75 overall, 94 speed, 5'9", and I've heard if they're under 5'10", they're better runners, according to somebody's theories. But quiet off season, but really nailed 2 picks in the draft, and I think that'll help him.
Yep. Young Lions team, continuing development. Another guy who has a second-year quarterback that he's focused on. Getting that linebacker and running back is useful.
Yeah, another guy he picked up too was Bobby Anderson. Looked just like Robbie Anderson, 23-year-old, only 69 overall, normal dev, but he was 96 speed. So another team picking up a quick receiver. And again, why I think Colt made a mistake kind of not addressing the speed in his secondary. But that's going to bring us now to QB and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, biggest thing for the Broncos is that Russell Wilson is not dead yet. Still hanging around at 84 overall with all the money that's going to him. He has to be Lucky that this is not an updated roster because I'm sure Russ's overall is way lower now given how he's performing in real life. But he has the X Factor quarterback still hanging around. He got rid of Cortland Sutton. He picked up a future second for him. I've kind of been going back and forth in these receiver trades. And I mean, going to reiterate, there were a lot of receivers available. So I'm not going to blame anyone for getting assets and trading one away. And he was able to draft a couple solid rookies. He got a 21-year-old D tackle who's normal development, but he's 72 overall, and that was a position of need. 21 years old gives you plenty of time to develop him. He also needed offensive line help, and he got a 75 overall hidden right tackle, so that helps there. QB's close, and he beat Prime in the playoffs last year. He has to feel like he's right there. Has to take advantage of having Russell Wilson while he does. So I'm interested to see what his season looks like, but could have fairly quiet offseason, but that doesn't mean it wasn't successful. I like a few of the moves he made.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head that biggest thing was that Russell Wilson didn't die. Now, he would have liked if he retired probably because he gets out from under that contract, but I think it sets him back if that happens. But, yeah, for right now, I thought the Sutton move, I was surprised by it, but with all the rookies coming out and everything, like you said, the free agency was flooded with receivers. I don't hate that move. So we'll see how he does while he's got Russell Wilson, and then the inevitable kind of shock of going to a not elite quarterback. We'll see how he does with that in the upcoming seasons. All right, so next up we're going to go to Green Bay and finish off the NFC North. And we saw Meats. Meats is the Packers. And he ended up bringing back Jalen Hurts. Couldn't find a way to get rid of him. Let him walk and then re-signed him as opposed to franchising him. Probably a good idea. Brings in Cole Kmet, Austin Hooper. Lets Tunyon walk, and that's who he ends up with there. Not a bad offseason for him. I didn't really think he did much. He got rid of the safety, J.J. Loud, and gave him to Dump for a pick. But fairly quiet. The Packers team is already pretty loaded. He's only got $7 million in cap space right now, so it's a lot of it is probably just kind of maintaining and not getting your head too far underwater.
Yeah, a couple nice rookies, couple hidden developments, but pretty quiet. He just beat the brakes off of me in week 1, so I don't have much to say here.
All right, then we'll move on and we'll go to the Tennessee Titans in the AFC South.
I think I lost you. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Tennessee Titans.
Got it. Sorry. Yeah, these pretty quiet offseason. The Titans got the franchise quarterback, so that's big. NYT was able to get younger at that position and got Carson Barkley, not to be confused with Charles Barkley. He's normal dev, but he's 21. He's already 75 overall, so be interested to see how he develops him. He brought in Trent Brown at left tackle, and he also traded a fifth for Charles Leno, who's another left tackle. I think Charles Leno was in free agency when I looked in the preseason, so not sure what happened there. But I don't know. It's going to be tough for NYT any year in this division, so it'll be interesting. Just focus on the quarterback. That's all this is about.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing that determines how his offseason was, is how that quarterback plays. All right, so next is going to be Washington Commanders and Doink. I thought he spent quite a bit in free agency just from as I was looking at free agency. He did pick up Justin Reed, so he gets a free safety there. He got a 68 overall hidden dev corner in the draft in Marcus Bibbs. His draft wasn't bad. I thought he got some decent players on the offensive side. He had 2 receivers, 70 and 71 overall, but they were 95 and 97 speed to go with his 97 speed. Lonnie Brock, and then McLaurin obviously is 95 speed and an X factor. He brought back Gibson rather than re-signing him or franchising him. He went the Meats route with Hurts and did the same with Gibson, where he let him walk and then he just re-signed him. So he probably got a better deal on him than he would have. He brought in Robert Tonyan to play tight end. Not a bad offseason. We'll see how Sam Howell ends up doing. Not too bad, obviously, last year. And if he can continue to grow and with the speed that he added, and I think he's got 95 or 96 throw power, I'll have to look that up. Oh, it's only 93. I feel like it went down. I wonder if he didn't get fixed because I thought it was higher. But added a ton of speed, and we'll see how that does. He added Tyron Smith as well at the left tackle. That was kind of the big prize in free agency, if you want to call him a prize at 33 years old. But not a bad offseason for Doink.
Yeah, far and away his best offensive lineman. The defense is still awesome. Didn't really have to do much, and the speed receivers helped too.
Yep. All right, so now we'll go. We did the Titans. Let's do the Texans.
Yeah, RD. I was looking through his roster. I think he's a lot closer than people may think he is to competing again after a down year last year. He got rid of Laramie Tunsil for a second, which I don't know how I feel about that move. He's not paying a quarterback, and the offensive line outside of him is okay at best, but we'll see. I've watched a few of his streams where Tunsil does not do very well, so probably just some frustration there.
Yeah.
He also traded McMichael and a future third. He brought in Amari Cooper, and along with that move, he drafted a 97 speed hidden wide receiver that's 77 overall. So a lot better weapons for his second year quarterback. And we'll see how he continues to develop him. He also got a 75 overall hidden outside linebacker. So a couple big draft picks, a big trade to get Amari Cooper, got an asset for Laramie Tunsil. Pretty busy offseason as he continues to work through building the worst roster in the game. He's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, so far pretty good. And then, like I said, adding Amari Cooper is big. But that's a tough division there with Faz and Prime both there. So he's gonna have to make the team better, and he's making good moves towards doing that. Next up is gonna be Woods and the Eagles. Woods, I was a little disappointed in his offseason. Didn't really think he did much. He lost Brady, so he has to go with quarterback. He gets a hidden dev quarterback, and then just today it sounds like he's not even going to start him. He uses one of his draft picks on a tight end who's hidden. Problem is he's already got Goddard and another tight end there that he just drafted last year in Calvin Fisk. I would have liked to see him get some more speed in the second. He's got a really good secondary by overall. I mean, he's got 3 corners, 80 or better, one being Darius Slay at 87 with a superstar dev. Now, obviously, he's 33. The other 2 corners, 28 and 27. Gardner Johnson's there. He's obviously a younger guy. He's at strong safety. And then he picked up Xavier Woods to play free safety. He drafted a corner that's hidden at 72, but he's only 90 speed. So just like Colt, he's not really fast in the secondary. Avonte Maddox is 92. That's his fastest guy. And he's got him on the trade block. Darius Slay sitting at 91. Being 33 years old, he's only going down. And everybody else is kind of 90, 89. So I'd like to see him get a little more speed in that secondary because of just that influx of speed receivers that we've seen.
Yeah. I think that's something to monitor. Hard to fault him, though. I mean, those guys are all individually pretty solid. I think he has enough speed to get through another year or two, at least 90 or more at every starting position. So I think overall he'll be fine. There may be some unfavorable matchups, but I don't know. I don't like the quarterback. He got the hidden guy, but he's only 66 overall. I know he's 21. You got time to develop him, but that's going to be a rough couple of years.
Yeah, I think it absolutely is. Luckily, maybe he's going the tank route, and he'll get one of the 10 first-round quarterbacks that are ranked this year. All right, so next up is the Jaguars and Faz.
Yeah, Faz got a couple hidden guys. They're not the best overall, but he got 3 of them. The end, right tackle, and safety. He's a guy who can develop guys pretty well. So see if any of those are future factors. Keep an eye on that. He made a couple win now moves. He traded a second and a future third for Matthew Judon. I love that. His pass rush is already dangerous. Adding another guy like Judon does nothing but help the defense. And Murphy Bunting in the secondary, he traded a future second to Clinky for him. That's an immediate upgrade. So a couple win now moves to help the defense. Watched his game earlier against Biz. His offense is humming. He's got a couple superstars on the outside already. He's doing pretty well there. He's not a guy you expect to draft high-end talent because he doesn't pick high enough to get it. But again, he found a few hidden guys that may or may not be able to be developed. So we'll see. But overall, good offseason. I like getting the 2 defensive starters in.
Yeah, I think regardless of the draft, just getting Murphy Bunting and Judon is a huge upgrade, and a team that already went to the Super Bowl, that's going to be big. All right. So next up is the Cowboys. So with the Cowboys, we've got a surprise, actually. He did not draft a running back. So kind of a quiet offseason for Grams. That seems to be the way it usually goes. He drafted 3 offensive linemen. I don't even know if he made any of these picks. But it looks like a lot of normal dev. Didn't really get – he got 2 hidden devs on the offensive lineman, but the rest of his draft picks, minus the tight end, which is 69 overall, they were normal dev. Just a quiet offseason for him, and we'll see if it picks up. But it seems like he's been kind of hands-off in the offseason lately.
Yeah, I know he likes the Cowboys, their team. He probably doesn't want to replace a lot of these guys. He's been busy too, so quiet offseason is expected. Yeah, I don't know, a couple okay hidden devs, but we'll see.
Yeah, nothing too much there. All right, so for the last team in the AFC, it's going to be Prime and the Colts.
Yeah, I think Prime was running into some cap issues. He also did not have his first round pick this year. He traded that to me for Cam Jordan, who he subsequently let walk in free agency after 1 year. Again, due to cap issues, which is, I think, what led to him trading Baker Mayfield. I was somewhat surprised to see that because Prime's always sort of in win-now mode. But it was a pretty good deal. He traded Baker and his future first for the 4th pick to Tiny and the Giants. And he turned that pick into a stud corner, 79 overall, 21-year-old, hidden development. So hard to blame him there. We'll see how the quarterback position goes. We mentioned earlier on the show, he traded Stephon Gilmore, a 2nd and a 4th for Dane Dempsey. The young guy, I think he's 22, star dev. Definitely someone that a guy like Prime can develop. It just might set him back a year in his quest for his first Lombardi this cycle. But we'll see. It's definitely an immediate downgrade from Baker Mayfield, but it's the kind of move you can't really judge until 2 or 3 seasons down the road.
Yeah, I think the cap issue kind of hurt him, and then to turn that into a 95 speed corner, who's the top. I think he may have been the top player in the draft, if not at least the top corner.
Yep.
So that worked out, and we'll see what he does with this new quarterback. But the cap kind of snuck up on him and became a problem, and I think he came out of it pretty well. Definitely was scrambling there looking for a quarterback at the last minute, though. So this is going to take us to our last team, and that's going to be Tiny Titans and the New York Giants. And he made the big splash, went out, got the X-Factor quarterback in Baker Mayfield. He drafted a hidden dev running back to replace Elijah Mitchell, who he traded that and a first to get Saquon Barkley. Not like a crazy offseason for him either. Fairly quiet, other than obviously a big move there for Baker Mayfield. But not bad. I would have liked to see him actually move Daniel Jones. I'm surprised that either nobody wanted him or he just didn't try to shop him. But Daniel Jones, 89 speed, not the best throw power, but he is a star. He's 27, so he's a little older. But looking at what some of these teams are trotting out there at the quarterback position, I'm surprised he didn't at least try to move him and see what he could get for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, his mobility is his best asset. I like the running back you got, Nate Fowler. There's a challenge to Tiny. You're going to go out and get the X-Factor quarterback. You have the X-Factor stud receiver. A pretty loaded receiver room, in all honesty. This should be a good offense. So there's no reason that this offense should not be good this year.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that's going to do it for 2-minute drill. We come in right about 54 minutes, so not bad at all. Unless you got anything to say, D-Muse, to kind of some last-minute extra rounds that you may have saved, I think that's going to do it for this episode.
Nope, just hoping the Saints beat the Bucs tonight on Monday Night Football.
But, all right, we'll see how that goes.
It was fun.
I did see the Bucs lose to the Browns, so not their best year. But all right, guys, thanks for watching, and this has been 2-Minute Drill.